I want to talk to you today about how you can have complete control over your future. Hi, I'm John Furth, CEO and Senior Executive Coach, Speaker, and author of the book Owning Tomorrow, The Unstoppable Force of Disruptive Leadership. When most people talk about the future, they often speak as if it's something that just happens to them, as if tomorrow is an event we have to brace for, unpredictable, unstoppable, out of control. But that is not how history works. The truth is, the future doesn't happen to us. We create it. Every major leap forward, the printing press, electric light, the assembly line, the digital revolution, AI, began the same way, with human beings bold enough to imagine something better. Technology may drive disruption, but it's people, leaders, who make it happen. Disruption always brings short-term pain. It challenges what's comfortable, exposes what's broken, and forces us to rethink what we thought was certain. But it is also the engine of human progress, the reason we live longer, learn faster, and connect more deeply than ever before. To me, that's what owning tomorrow means. It's not about predicting the future, it's about taking responsibility for it. It's about asking better questions, seeking opportunity in uncertainty, and understanding that courage, curiosity, and creativity, not control, are what move us forward. Owning tomorrow is a mindset, a call to lead where others hesitate, to embrace change as a creative act, and to recognize that what endures, our values, our humanity, gives meaning to everything new we build. Because while technology may shape what's possible, it's leadership that shapes what's real. And that's the unstoppable force of disruptive leadership, the power to create a future worth owning. Human beings are born with a set of hardware, such as complexion, eye color, vocal range, musculature, and so on. These physical features are usually difficult to change without some sort of medical intervention. Then there are our intangible assets, the system that ensures all the disparate parts of our body function together properly. This is similar to the operating software that computers, phones, and other hardware use. We also develop and store software to help us perform simple and complex tasks, much like apps that sit on top of a computer's operating system. I want you to think of this system as consisting of three concentric circles. Early on, we start processing experiences and events, assigning meaning to them. These are our beliefs about the way it is and are heavily influenced or programmed by friends, school, religion, the media, and so on. But beliefs are really just perceptions of who we are and what the world is about, filtered through a maze of experiences and people. As we discover things about the world and ourselves, we form new beliefs while modifying, reinforcing, or jettisoning existing ones. We then create mindsets, which are attitudes about ourselves, other people, life events, etc. So if you believe the world is friendly, you will most likely have a mindset that everything will go well. You will have the attitude that life only has abundance to offer. But you can also have negative, anxiety-prone mindsets, as well as everything in between. These mindsets translate into states of being and are the first outward manifestations of what's going on inside us. If, for example, we have a negative and anxious mindset, we're going to be nervous, paranoid, and so forth. And conversely, if we've had largely good experiences and things seem to work out for us, we'll encounter the world in a happier, more productive state of being. Many people also call all of this our identity, and much of it is unconscious, which can cause a number of issues. But we'll come back to that in a later video. So let's move to the second part, which when you're young is separate and distinct from ourselves, and those are our aspirations, those things we want to achieve, like maybe building our own business, It doesn't have to be an Amazon or a Facebook, but it can be something smaller. And it could also be a career with success and money. Many people want families, often big families. And then there are these smaller things in life, like passing an exam, or dealing with things like preparing for a presentation, or dealing with difficult employees. Those are what we call the results we're looking to achieve. But there's a third piece. Between our identity and the results we want is something we call the external world. In this case, it's made up of very many constituent groups, starting with our friends and family, who also happen to be the first programmers of ourselves in many cases, as well as schools where we are trained. And then we go out into the workplace, our bosses and staff, the government, media, competitors, colleagues, and so forth. And then ultimately, the big life events and global events that shape who we are, how we think about the world, and possibly how we're going to go about achieving our results. We have to negotiate. We have to work with all these various agencies, people, personality types. And how do we do that? We do that by making the best decisions possible, accompanied by the right actions and good communications that take into account the various constituent groups and other people's goals, desires, and needs. That way you can work as collaboratively as possible to help you achieve the results you want. Now, in my own life, I've worked hard to learn how to handle external constituents, vis-a-vis my decisions, my actions, and communications. And I've developed what I would call a great superpower. It's called empathy. Truly understanding what people want, what they're thinking, and so forth, so I can react appropriately. The other thing I do is I often do some sort of scenario planning. What if I do this? What if I say that? And so forth. What will a key constituent that I'm trying to influence or convince of my agenda, how will they react? And how will they help me or possibly hinder me? But there are many times when this doesn't go according to plan. Let's take, for example, schools. When you're first getting to know the world, you can fail at an exam. You can have a fight with a teacher, maybe a fellow pupil, and then there's work that needs to be done to clean up so you can move on, hopefully wiser. There are many large constituent groups, such as the government, that seems to often conspire against us. The government can disrupt people's lives, disrupt businesses, and so forth through a simple change in regulation or laws. And then we again find ourselves forced to rethink the results that we committed ourselves to possibly years earlier. But sometimes we're completely blindsided by something unexpected that comes our way, often as a result of life events, an accident, or somebody you trust steals from you or does something bad to you. Somebody important to you dies. Those are serious blindsides that are often completely unprepared for. And this is where our fears, our doubts, our anxieties, our excuses really start to overtake us. And we're so devastated because they come out of nowhere. Although many of the moments in the life that blindside us are buried deep in our unconscious. Maybe we haven't been willing to explore, haven't been willing to understand ourselves and the world around us more deeply. And what happens as a result of this lack of self-awareness? Well, things began to crumble in the light of things we could have avoided had we made the effort to get to know ourselves and seen the signs ahead. That's when it's time to return the skills and the techniques that you acquired as part of your training in the performance model. Your ability to understand what others are thinking and feeling, what we call empathy, gets stronger. Creativity, the ability to create the world for ourselves that's uniquely ours. The resilience and agility that are key to surviving setbacks, as well as the ability to take action and return. In the end, as those skill sets begin gaining momentum, your confidence, your courage, and your ability to commit to big and small results return stronger because they survived another test.